not.
Welcome, everyone. We'll let everyone kind of trickle in and see folks come on in. It's great to be here. I like to, as we wait, kick things off with an icebreaker for the panelists. So Ben, I'll start with you. What was your first concert that you went to?
Oh, wow, this is going to be an embarrassing one, but S Club 7. I don't know if any
I love S Club 7.
I remember they were obviously huge in the UK. And so, yeah, I remember going to Wembley Stadium and seeing S Club 7, which, yeah, not my music taste now, but good first concert.
I remember watching their music videos in the 90s. They're good.
Yeah.
All right, Kelly, what about you? First concert?
I'm gonna have the worst answer here. I've actually never been to a large concert. So I will say instead, like the first music I owned was the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I remember really liking Under the Bridge, which maybe I was too young to like it at that age, but it resonated. So that's my early music memory that I'll share.
I love it. Red Hot Chili Peppers is some good music. Asher, you?
Well, I don't remember the first concert, but I'll tell you, my sister and I have been planning to go to a Coldplay concert for I think 10 years, and like last year they were here, and so we literally just went to it, which was great. The sad part is I could only stay for like half of it because I had to catch a plane, but at least we made it count.
Well, you've made me look even more. I mean, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Coldplay, and then S Club 7. So
Totally.
I would kind of make a polar option there, to be honest.
All right, well, let's dive in. Everyone joining, thanks for joining. This is a few housekeeping questions, a live webinar. We obviously have some very amazing guests today. This will be recorded, so feel free to share it with whomever you'd like and spread the word about what we're talking about today. It's very important. We're going to give you 5 instead of 3 secret sauce strategies for a recession-proof approach to partnerships, and specifically what your CEO should know. So this is important for everyone here within partnerships. And before we get started, would love to intro our lovely guests here, starting with Kelly, who runs tech partner enablement and advocacy at HubSpot, Ben, founder of Partner Fuel, and then Asher, co-founder of Partnership Leaders. Thank you guys for being here today. Super pumped. Let's dive right on in with our first piece of knowledge, which is partner sales. So this is one of our big 5 pillars we're talking about today. Asher, I'm going to start with you. What does it even mean to focus on sourced revenue and not all this fluff around influence pipeline? What do we need to think about?
Yeah, so I mean, this may come a little harsh, but like given the times we're in, I feel like we need to focus on sourcing revenue, and it doesn't matter how many touches that it happened, and it like all the I would say vanity metrics that people come with to make them feel good are all going to get heavily scrutinized. And so if you can, and you've already built the rigor in your partner program where you can actually source revenue and you can be proactive about it, there's a number of ways to do that. We can go through a few of them in this session, but wherever you can, pivot as fast as you can to sourcing revenue and showing that you've sourced the revenue, and I think you'll be in really good shape during this time.
Yeah, Ben, do you have anything to add there?
No, plus one. I mean, especially if you've just taken a new partnership role, your first hire, or you're building a program out. I think the influence piece is great. And to Asher's point, if you've built out a robust partner program, you can start having those conversations. But the executive team have brought you in for one reason, and that's to increase revenue. And so I agree with Asher, finding those quick wins and the fastest way to revenue, which can come in the form of the types of partners you select, etc. But yeah, plus one on Asher's point about trying to get that.
I'll also add something like, when specifically to Ben's point, if you've just started and it's your first year at a company and you were hired to build a partner program out, just source enough revenue to pay for yourself. Because right then and there, you'll be a contributing member of the company, right? And the revenue team. And the formula is like whatever your OTE is, you should find a way to go 3x to 8x of that, 3x to 5x of that in source revenue, and you'll be okay. Now, what that will also do is it'll allow you to focus on the first set of partners that really are going to be working with you hand in hand. And it'll help you actually establish trust fast, because you'll be able to focus on generating business for both companies, and it'll just create a win-win situation for everybody. And,
Yeah,
and I know I'm the first person that said trust on this call. So, every time somebody says trust on this call, we're going to take a shot.
I would just add to that. I think, assess your own situation, because I think what Ben flagged, right? If you're early days partner program, or alternatively, if you're a larger organization where influence revenue isn't assigned a particular value, it's not measured well, it's kind of sloppy, then your best bet is to focus on source revenue, because in tough times, that's where people are going to be looking at how we get cash in the door as quickly as possible. But if you happen to be at a company that raised really well and has a huge cash cushion, then I would say don't pivot away from what we know is a good strategy, which is the ecosystem strategy and the way partners can impact all the way across the funnel. But assess your situation. If you're one of the lucky people right now who are in a company that has that kind of time runway and an executive board who's not immediately panicking and saying, let's look to short term how we get the cash in the door, then still go with that approach, because in the long term, that's going to be more viable for your business.
Yeah. I'll just add one thing, because we're focusing on partner sales. If you're in partner sales, do not do influence. You'll thank me later, but do not think about influence at all. Just think about how you can get that partner sales motion built, because it is going to take some time, and it's no different than a startup trying to figure out their initial go-to-market strategy and how they're going to serve customers. There's a way, it takes time, but just focus on one thing. And not only will you survive this thing, but you'll actually be viewed as a hero, because most of the rest of the company, if we know what they know, will just be saying that you're just going to come in and do these like random things. And by proving yourself and proving the partner sales motion, you'll actually be able to show yourself again as a contributing member of the revenue team.
Okay, so we dove into sales. Let's pivot for a second and think about the partner marketing aspect of it. And Ben, I know you have some thoughts here. Again, with the sales piece, really honing in on the bottom line revenue. Same with marketing. Like, this isn't a go fish type of strategy. You're really getting pinpointed and selective here. So how do you think about this partner marketing go-to-market strategy during these times?
Yeah, so I think I'll caveat this with a couple of points. Firstly, let's just put ourselves in the position of this economic climate where reduced headcount, reduced budget. We have to get very specific on what activities drive value. I think there's a pain point that all partner managers feel, and whether this is driven from the executives or not, to just recruit more partners. And with that comes the need to market with those partners. I think in the climate we're in now, my advice would be get very specific around which partners you want to co-market with. And so I think creating a partner prioritization matrix or some type of formula where you're actually thinking of who are our top priority partners and doubling down on co-marketing with those partners, instead of let's do everything with everyone. Because I think then what happens is you disperse the little budget you do have and you aren't really driving value with anyone. And so I think for everybody on this call today, I just urge people to get really laser focused into which partners you're going to co-market with and do it really, really well.
Yeah, I think laser focus is a big point. I did want to mention, if anyone here has a question, please submit it into the chat. We do have a question back on the partner sales side from Fabiana. Can you clarify why influenced should not be a focus if you're in partner sales?
Yeah, so the reason why I say that is because every time you bring up influence in a meeting, it's just going to get questioned like 6 ways to Sunday, and you're not going to be able to at least in this environment, right? It's just going to decrease your credibility. There's going to be a whole bunch of issues. Some people will say, there'll be like 17 different narratives that get created. And so in this environment, just saying anything, using the word influence is going to be the same thing as use the word hate, right? And I know I'm maybe like I said, this may be a little harsh than some of the comments I normally make, but in this environment, like stay as close to sourced. And you can always say like, hey, there was all these other activities that allowed us to source this deal, but stay as close to sourced as possible, while showing the value your partners brought. Kelly, Ben?
I'm just going to kind of reiterate what I said before. I think you need to assess your own situation. Partner influence can have a huge impact on business metrics in terms of closing deals more quickly, closing them for higher amounts, long-term retention. If you are already in a place where this is being tracked and recognized, then I think you're in a different circumstance than when you're early days, first person at the company, just starting the function out, in which case 100% what Asher said is the way to go. But assess where your organization is, where your executives view partner influence, because ultimately that's the key. Even if you're tracking it, if they don't recognize it as valuable, then you need to pivot to partner sourced right now. But if they see the value, then I say go for it, because there's tons of business metrics that can very strongly be impacted by it in real life.
Yeah. And also like I would say in the partner marketing side of things, right? Like, because we should take the lessons from like the direct side of the business where sales and marketing teams are working together and they do track influence, because what's important is the partner's journey and the customer's journey to understand what was valuable where, so that you can get to a repeatable sales motion again, right? So I'm a big fan of like you tracking partner influence on the marketing side, because there's more things you can do on the marketing side. The partner sales piece is a very, I would say, revenue-oriented, repeatable process that requires a lot of rigor the same way the direct sales motion requires. And so if you're on that side of the house, like stay closer to repeatability, and then work with your partner marketing colleagues who will have time and they will be instrumented to track influence and look at all the different touches that can actually generate an opportunity that you can then take further.
So Ben, if we're talking about partner marketing, to Asher's point, and getting more precise, how are you cherry picking who you give care to essentially? Is it those ones that are contributing revenue or ones you see have potential to contribute?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think I referenced the creation of like a partner prioritization, matrix is kind of what I call it. And I'm happy to share it with this group and with you, Tori, afterwards around how I work through that. Sourced revenue is one component. It can be total addressable market. It can even be like appetite to partner as well. So there's lots of factors that go into that prioritization matrix. But I would say, like, again, if there's one partner that's contributing a ton of revenue, then great, we should definitely be doubling down on that partner and going to market more. But I think there's more nuance there than just, looking at your top 10 revenue producing partners, because if there's no willingness from one of those partners to go to market with you and want to do co-marketing activities, then you kind of need to move them down that list a little bit. And so, that matrix is a little bit more nuanced than just sourced revenue, I would say, but that's definitely a contributing factor in deciding who to co-market with.
And I think Ben's point too, additional to a kind of matrix that it sounds like he's going to share with us, the looking at what's working on your current partners, right? And really refining essentially the ideal partner profile based on what's working. If you have 5 co-marketing partners that are killing it with you, then take a close look. What is it about those partners? What are those characteristics? Because that can enable you to get net new that bring in the same level of revenue.
We have another question in the Q&A. If an opportunity comes from a partner's event, would you give credit to marketing, assuming they provided budget to sponsor the event, or to partnerships?
Partnerships, 100%.
Why?
I mean, to be honest, like, and I say that with a bit of a smile, but at the same time, like, marketing budget, but it's partnerships that have organized it, sourced the event, created and organized. I would always say that should fall under partnerships, just because partnerships are the one that have created that event, coordinated that event. Just because it's marketing budget, in my opinion, that should still be credited to the partnership team. And Kelly, I don't know if you've got an opinion, but in my opinion, that would be in my experience, partner.
I've heard this. I feel like this is a common scenario because especially in enterprise sale, like these type of events are so important to closing business. In my ideal scenario, it's double counted essentially. Marketing and partnerships gets credit because as the revenue leaders, the worst thing you can do is pit marketing, partnerships, and sales against each other. So they're having turf wars around attribution. So similarly to how we sometimes do that in sales, where you get double comped for partner and sales, I would recommend that approach. I agree with you if you had to make a call that it's more on the partner side because that is the partner relationships that's driving it, right? But
yeah, I would just say if you're having this problem, I think the problem you need to address is how do partner campaigns and direct campaigns get organized? Because this is only a problem if the operating framework isn't set up properly, right? Because at the end of the day, if you look at like a P&L, there's a line called sales and marketing, and it's either a sales budget or a marketing budget, right? Like there's no sales, partnerships, and marketing, like at least the way that like we've historically looked at P&L statements, right? And so the budget is going to be given to marketing, and then it should be then allocated to partner marketing, and then you should be able to spend it there. But the campaign tracking is actually another big problem that comes up. And so if this question is coming up, and for other people that are in a similar scenario, just make sure the campaigns are organized well, because you are going to be a cost center inside of the marketing budget where you're going to pull this from and submit your receipts to.
yeah, that's a good point. And I think, internally, in terms of like internal collaboration, I would say having some kind of a model in place that's transparent is a must have, because what happens if it's not is you get these disputes after the fact, and then you get resentment between marketing and partnerships teams, which is of course terrible moving forward, because then you do not have a good cultural balance or aligned team. So I would advocate for trying to get clarity on it before it occurs rather than after, which is not always possible, but it's worth advocating for.
I want to stay on the same line as tracking, and this is our third tool for today out of 5, partner operations. And Kelly, specifically for you, curious how someone can get their tracking in place. I think with lean teams right now in this day and age, how can you scale activities through tools? What have you seen work really well here?
Yeah, I think automation and systems is often the best way to scale a program with fewer people, right? Because that's what it can do if you do it well. And I think, some combination of trying to use your CRM, your marketing automation, and a PRM potentially, if you have enough partners to justify it. But I think the beauty of something like a PRM is it can enable one partner manager to be driving results with more partners than they would be able to if they were doing everything through email, Slack, and an Asana board or however you're collaborating. So, I think investing in technology is one of the best things you can do right now in order to be more efficient and to grow more quickly without having to have very expensive headcount layered on top of it.
Yeah, I think that's important. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to throw in like the second party account data mapping tools, which can be tied into the marketing side, the sales side, the partner side, and it can be used free, right? So I think that getting that tech stack together is really a core component. It's not only showing that you're having impact, but actually being able to do more with less.
And I think to add on to that, in the same, and I think about this a lot, especially when there's partner programs where you have, potentially hundreds of partners. How do you scale out the touch motion where partner managers are meeting with these partners, fairly consistently? And I go back to how SDRs write email sequences, right? And I think there's a motion there where you're able to use sequencing tools to scale partner communications out to a large group of partners. And to Kelly's point, like, what that allows you to do is still provide touch points, but in a way that's very scalable and doesn't require you adding 2-3 more partner managers to your program. And so I love that point around tooling creatively to scale out your partner management.
And outside of tools, Kelly, I know you've been doing a lot of content around CEOs and partnerships around, CEO approval or getting buy-in. What are a few metrics that come to mind that listeners here can really take away and really present in front of their CEOs?
Yeah, I think ultimately tying it back to the strategic priorities of your company. So making sure you understand what the focus is on, right? Like some people have a product-led growth. Some people are really focused on retention, which I think partner impact on retention is a very neglected metric. When we did a partner ops report a while back where we surveyed over 650 people, that one had a lot less tracking in organizations. And I think especially now, often doing the upsell and cross sell and the looking at retention of your customers is one of the best ways to go. And so I think really connecting those with a sourced, influenced retention back to whatever your North Star metrics are of your entire organization, and then presenting it to your C-suite and to your board is the way you're going to be able to get more resources to then scale out your impact.
Yeah, and sorry, Asher, you jump in, mate.
I was just going to say, nobody's going to like me after this webinar. But the two things that CEOs care about the most right now is quota coverage, right? Like, do I have enough partners to generate the quota that I need, and pipeline? So if you can call it partner quota coverage and partner pipeline, right? Because if neither of them exist, there's no way you're going to make the partner number, and the whole thing starts to fall, right? Because the CEO is not the boss anymore, the CFO is the boss, right? And the CFO is just looking at it, is it just a numbers person? And most CFOs are extremely dry people, right? And they don't really care, right? I mean, they may be nice, they'll go out and have a sandwich with you and stuff like that, but they don't really care, right?
A sandwich?
So, I know. I mean,
you're like painting these CFOs in a flattering light.
I'm telling you, I've come across a lot of them, and they're just
the sandwich has to be under $5 though.
Totally. But like CFOs don't go to clubs with partner managers, like I'll just put it out there also, right? And so just to give some color, but yeah, partner quota coverage and partner pipeline are like the two most like important things right now. If you can open with a slide that says, here's my partner quota coverage, here's my partner pipeline that maps to that, here's what I think I'm going to get to, you're going to look like a hero, right? Now, if you want to go, if you're a VP level person on this call, look at the term contributing margin. And if you actually speak in terms of contributing margin, like that is actually pure CFO speak. And we can probably do a blog between like all four of us on contributing margin, right? And post it out there, but like read up on the words contributing margin and then figure out your partner contributing margin and speak to your CFO that way, because like the CFO is going to be in the room with the CEO anyways, and you're going to look great.
And Tori, just I guess final point for me, and I keep going back to this. It's not so much like what you should tell your CEO, but how do you insulate yourself and make yourself a hero for the rest of your organization? I think one of the points that's going to be very apparent for a lot of people on this webinar is that every team in your organization is going to be under pressure to some extent in this climate. And so finding ways that you can influence, and I hate using the word influence as we just talked about source, but that you can benefit all the different roles in your organization and make them advocates for your partner program is going to hold you in really good stead and probably insulate your team from future cuts. If you've got, everybody over every department singing your praises and telling the CEO how you're helping them as well. I think that's ultimately a job of anybody in partnerships, is to find how else you can improve other people's metrics as well.
Love that. We have a few more minutes to go over two more topics really quickly, but very important. Partner product. So thinking about integrations and strategic product gaps and how to figure out what a good integration could be. So I'm asking all three of you, what's the first step when scoping out this partner integration, and what should people consider?
Yeah, I would say, kind of as you alluded to there, is take a look at your own product roadmap very closely, right? There's things that customers are asking for, but that you don't have the dev bandwidth to get to until 2024, right? Or later. And maybe there's a partner out there that sells into a very similar ICP, but has that product feature and they've either built an awesome integration or they're willing to build it. I think those are the type of things you want to look at and say, hey, this is going to be a big booster on the retention side, but it's also going to help us sell in and get new customers, because we're essentially producing a product that is more fully functional and robust by going to market with our partner on this feature. And pretty much any product that you have should have partners in that bucket, right? That they're really filling something that is in demand, but you don't have the dev resources to build.
Yeah, I would add to that in terms of there's tools out there, Crossbeam Reveal, that actually allow you to account map and figure out crossover prior to building integrations as well. And so I would say don't just guess that you have customer overlap. I feel like a lot of partner managers get excited when companies come to them and want to build out integrations without thinking strategically around, okay, do we have a similar ICP? Do we have significant overlap to actually invest time and resources in building or developing this integration as well? So to Kelly's point, I think do some pre-work before wasting dev cycles in building out integrations as well.
We should give some love to Partner Tab too, because like I was told that like all good thought leaders speak in threes. So Ben, it should be like Crossbeam Reveal and Partner Tab.
My bad. Yeah, there are other tools are available.
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. On this thing, like, what's the first step when scoping out a potential partner integration? Like, I think before scoping, it's like prioritizing, right? And so, how do you prioritize? Like, your product managers, at least the good ones, already know why you're losing deals, and so go ask them and say like, hey, which part of the workflow did we lose the deal on, right? And because almost every customer now will have like 5 to 7 different products that they have to work together, because people are all like companies are just focusing on like this whole outcome-based selling, right? Which is great for all of us and especially the customers. But somewhere in the workflow, things break, right? And if you are a successful software company, you are focused on making your product as natural to the customer's day-to-day as possible. And so again, somewhere in there, the workflow is breaking. And then wherever that workflow is breaking, your product managers already know. And so working with them, grabbing that piece, and then talking to the partner, and then coming to scoping would be a great first step.
And they should know, they won't always know. And I think to circle back to Ben's point about working so that every team is grateful to have you in the organization. Yep. Talk to your sales team, ask them what big deals have you lost because of integrations. Ideally, you're systematically tracking it, but if you're not, go to your strategic sales team and ask them. Go to CS, find out who's churning because the integrations stink or they're not there. Get that information. Asher's right, the product team should be synthesizing that information, but in reality, they won't always be doing that well because integrations sometimes are a side note. So go get the data yourself, go to sales, go to CS, find out where the business is losing because of a lack of integrations.
And I'll make a plug for Ben because he's too nice to not like it. But once you have your integration and you need a video, call Ben. He can actually make it for you. Does a great job.
Guys, we've talked about 5 great takeaways for a recession-proof strategy for partnerships. Focus on source revenue, focus on a clean partner marketing program, got to track everything, partner operations, think about customizing your integrations from a product perspective, and most importantly, partner success. We wouldn't be where we are without our partners, so enabling them to the highest degree possible is what we need to do right now. Thank you, Kelly, Ben, Asher. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to you who came.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Cheers.